Okay, looks like this is up and running. This is TC Made with TC Gaming. I'm going to do a live stream for something that I've been working on for a little while using this platformer development kit. This is not a tutorial lesson or anything like that. It's just something I've been working on. I thought maybe you guys might be interested in seeing the processes behind trying to take something from the marketplace. And in this case, I purchased these two development kits for platformers from a guy by the name of MSod Brushbeard. He does some really good work. The first one that's in here, he actually did an update mid-project on it. And once I downloaded that project, I found a couple different things that I had to change. He added in a double jump and a wall hang on here. And you can see he did this update, double jump and ledge climbing. And then on his second kit, he adds in some pretty cool features with some night type of stuff. And he has these like little lantern that reveals hidden areas. So pretty cool stuff. But a long time ago, I had come across the idea of maybe doing a simple, basic platformer type game, and I wanted to incorporate that with some of my Synty Studios art that I had purchased quite a while back for things like these nature packs, and also maybe the pirate pack, and a couple of the ones from um, the fantasy characters and things like that. I have most of these assets I actually purchased from either Unreal Engine, or I purchased them directly from the Synty Studios store, and in some cases I bought them from some third-party vendors. But I thought this might be an interesting way to go about sharing this with you guys, and if there's an interest in it or whatever, I'll keep this thing going. But just thought maybe you'd like to check it out. And here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Trying to figure out real quick if there's a way for me to see comments as they come up on my channel here. Looks like I can find this. Okay. Yeah, it looks like I got that set up there. Okay, so without any further delay, what I had done in the first one, this platformer development kit, I downloaded from MSod Brushbeard and installed that. And then I also went out to a web store and purchased a rabbit. His game uses a rabbit as part of the main character for the game. And I downloaded a rabbit, and then I did a video where I was showing you some of the embedded animation work that I had to do to try and get that thing straightened out to make it usable. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to show you what I had, and then I'm going to go and incorporate the first and second video, or the first and second platformer kits together, and try and go back through the process of adding in my character over top of MSod's artwork. And so let's let this go here a little bit. And we'll say don't restore. Give this thing a second to start compiling. And again, I thought maybe this would be a way for you guys, if you had questions about what I'm working on here, or just to see some of the processes without me actually doing a tutorial video, since we're all kind of penned up in the house right now with this COVID-19 outbreak. So it's going to compile some more shaders. But if you look here, this is the first kit. And I went through and I added in my own character and added some sounds from the Pro Sound collection. And so this is what the game kind of looks like. Now the shaders are still compiling, so this rabbit will look better in a second. Maybe I'll wait. Let a couple people join here anyway. Not even sure if anybody will watch this, but here's, let's see, 270. So this will take another second or so. If you guys have questions, feel free to shout them out here. I can actually see the chat now. So thanks for watching and joining in. My computer's going to be a little slow during this process. And I don't know how long I'll do this, but again, it's just a way to try and put some content out there while we're stuck at the house. Let's see. The shaders will continue to compile in the background as we go. Probably the very last thing is going to be that rabbit. There we go. Alright, so you have this basic platformer here, and using your WASD keys to run around, and you collect coins, and you can come over here and left click and interact with a sign. And over here is the lever, so you can jump over that lever, and that puts your drawbridge down. And you run over here to collect coins, And these little spike balls, if you hit those, will actually knock you back. And then you can get up and run around. And you'll see that it took one of my hearts away. So this is right out of the box with MSOD's kit. The only difference in here is my rabbit versus his rabbit. And when I say my rabbit, it's actually a rabbit that I purchased off of an artwork store. I'll pull that up later, but it's in one of my other videos. I think I'd shown where I got that from. And I just went through and added in all these different animations, or not animations, but the sounds and stuff from the Pro Sound kit. And, oh, so there we go. We died. Terrible. But what I wanted to do, if you look at the artwork style of these games, you know, these are all kind of low poly type stuff, so it fits in really nicely with some of the other things that I have from the kits for Synty Studios. And so my idea was I wanted to take a combination of a platformer game and an old hack and slash style game and try and marry those two things together. So I needed more of a humanoid character that eventually can actually put on weapons and armor and things like that and actually have battles with low-level creatures. And, you know, maybe down the road you turn it into something where they can get skill points and level up as they go. And maybe the platformers are the ways to navigate between different towns or main points of interest or something like that. I really haven't figured out the whole thing yet, but again, I have a lot of different assets that I wanted to try and pull together, and this kit popped up on my radar screen, and I thought, man, this thing's already pretty robust and built out, and maybe I can just go through and combine some of that stuff. So where I ran into my first issue was I downloaded the first pack, and I finally got all my animation stuff worked out. As you can see in here, I have the rabbit, and in the rabbit I had to go through and create a duplicate of his animation blueprint. When I say his, it's MSOD Brushbeard. So I created a copy of his animation blueprint, and inside of here you have an animation graph, and in this animation graph you have a state machine, and your locomotion basically goes through this whole sequence where from the entry it goes through and it starts with a stand-up animation. So I need to get my character with a stand-up animation. And then after that is over, you can go back and it goes from, where did I open all this up at? Close these things out. So from the animation graph, after he goes there, he'll go into an idle walk run. And then anytime I jump or get knocked back, you have to play these different things. So he had all these things set up, but you have to have the animations for your character in order to fill those in. And he also has these notifications, these anim notifs that are in here. And these actually tell the main blueprint, which is in, I think it's under this main event graph. So these will tell you that the notifications, like when the knockback is over and when the animation for the death is over, how to kick into different things throughout the game. So he's got these triggers that are set up in the animations, and I'd never come across this before, but it's a very elegant way of handling this, probably the way to handle it, in my opinion. But I figured, you know, if I could just reincorporate some of my stuff with his, it would be a pretty easy way for me to get this whole thing started. So what I'm going to go do, I'm going to go back into my editor. I'm going to go in here to my library, and I'm going to pull up the platformer. And I have his platformer development kit, and there's an update on this. So I'm going to go ahead and update that real quick. And the update should be the thing that actually has given you the wall hang and the double jump. And I noted in this one he had a thing where he added a spring to it, so when you collect the spring, then it activates the double jump. Really nice guy, great developer, and he's actually, I sent him a message to ask him about maybe taking my character and incorporating it into the game so that it'd be easier for me to move on with just developing levels and fleshing out other details. But anyway, I'm going to go here to the first platform development kit and say create project. And I'm going to call these, I'll call it PDK, so platform development kit. And this is going to be version number 1. And I'm going to browse this over and put it onto my D drive. And I'll do a new folder in here. And we're going to call it PDK1 for Platformer Development Kit 1. We'll select that folder, and we're going to create that project. So we'll give it a couple seconds, and it says it's done. I'm going to create a second project called Platformer Development Kit 2. This is a version 2. And I'll create that project. And I'm going to go down here. Same thing. I'm going to go to my D drive, new folder, and this is going to be called PDK2. And we'll do that, and this is going to be called PDK2. Now the reason I'm doing this is because he suggested that... Why did that folder do that? It's interesting. Well, we'll leave it that way. But he suggested in a conversation I had with him that if I created the first project and then the second project independently and copied some of the stuff from the second kit onto the first kit, that I should be able to combine those things. So let's see if we can go back to our... We'll go to YouTube on here, and I'm going to look up that conversation that I had with him real quick just to refresh my memory. So MSOD Brushbeard, and he's got these first 2 or 3 kits that are in here, and he's working on a third kit right now. So I had messaged him in this third kit. It's going to be pretty cool. It's got a lot of stuff in here with underwater exploration type stuff. You can see here. So, I mean, this will lend itself pretty nicely to some other stuff that I'm working on, and I'm hoping that I can integrate all 3 of these things and then get them to work with my overall idea, which I think I will. But let's go down here, and here was our conversation, and he said that the best way says you need to copy the content and config folder of Pack 2 manually over Pack 1. So copy the content and config folder of Pack 2 manually over Pack 1. So if I go back to my D drive, go down there and find PDK 2, and he's saying there's a content and config, right? Is that what he said? Content and config folder. It's basically these 2 things, content and config. So I'm going to copy those. I'm going to go back to my PDK1, and we'll paste this in here. And we're just going to tell it to go ahead and replace the files in the destination. Looks like that's done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fire up the game that we just created, which was our PDK1. And that one's got the second kit in underneath of it. So let's pull that up. So if anybody's out there watching, feel free to say hi. I see that there's 3 viewers, but I don't know. I might be 2 of them myself. If you have any questions along the way here, just let me know. And again, I'm not a professional educator. I'm just somebody, kind of messing around here myself, trying to get things to run. But I have these ideas that I think would work out pretty good if I could get them fleshed out. So here we go. And we should be pulling this up now. My Oculus Rift starts up every time I fire up a new project because I have that dev kit turned on for Oculus Rift. So I might run in there real quick and turn that off because it's kind of a pain and it slows everything down every time I try to start a level. Excuse me. Hopefully you guys are surviving the zombie apocalypse. So slow. Okay. So in here under maps, so we should have a starting level, And starting level 2. And if I go in here and hit play, let's see what this does. This is his original rabbit, and there shouldn't be any sound or anything, but I can still, all the other stuff is there. He's able to collect these coins, be able to jump to the lever, and in this one here, I think you'll see, if he jumps up here, yeah, he's able to hang on to the ledge and jump from the ledge up to the next ledge. So we're going to have to get animations for that. And what else do we have here? Oops, I totally missed that star. Alright, so when we get to the end of this level, there's going to be a hole there. And we can just navigate over to it from here. Where's the ending thing here? No. It's over here. Yeah, you navigate your way through here, and all the way down to this area here, there's a finish hole. Let's see. Should be able to find it just by typing in hole. So there's a level finish hole. Okay, and that level finish hole goes to map next level. But what we want to do is we want to call that map starting level 2. So we're going to change this to map underscore starting level 02. Okay, and if I can just say play from here, and that's going to go all the way back to the very beginning. Alright, well, the other thing we could do is take this hole and stick it over there, or I can just play through this level real quick. Let's just go ahead and play through it real quick and see what it does. See if there's any other surprises. So we'll go over there. And I think I don't really need anything at all to get through this. Just got to go to the right spots. Another close one there. Okay. And I do have to go up there to turn on that one little thing. I don't think I can do it from here, can I? Yeah, I might have to fire this up and go back around the other way. But overall, it's a pretty nice kit. I mean, it's very, very robust. And, you know, from a developmental standpoint, I mean, this would probably take somebody like me quite some time to put this together. But that's one of the beauties of these asset stores, is they make it so that you can get access to quite a few things in a very short period of time. And where we're trying to get to is over there. So, I think we jump on here. It gives us the bridge walkway, which is actually going to allow us to get over to the spike ball area here. There we go. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make sure that when I get to the other end here, that this actually takes me to the the final piece. There's that crystal is what's needed to unlock the other crystal over here. That's what breaks that crystal, so that you can actually get access to the hole. And hopefully I can just walk down on that platform. Ooh, shoot. Probably should have gone for it there. No. Figures. But now that I have the crystal and that thing's already knocked down, I should just be able to go right across to it. That's my last checkpoint. And where's that thing at? Right over there. So yeah, we're not too far away from where we were a second ago. And we got the extra life from the little rabbit thing up top there, so we should be good. I strongly recommend that if you get a chance, you go and check out this this development kit from MSOD, because it really, from what I can tell, put a lot of work into this thing, and hopefully, you know, it gets popular and people buy it and can move on. But what this should do now, because I changed that starting level name, this should take us to the other map that's in the underground area, which it does. And looks like we have success there. So with that being said, we got kits 1 and 2 working together. Pretty easy, really, to do that based on his instruction of how to make that happen. Let's see. Yep. And where are we at? Okay. All right. All right, cool. So those two things are working together. So now what we need to do is, I'm just going to try going back to my kit that I had from number 1. So let's go show and explorer, and if I go back to my D drive, I had my platformer rabbit kit that was in here, had all my animations in it, and actually I don't know if this had, no, I don't think it did. I was gonna say I don't know if this had the proper stuff in there. Content, rabbit. No, not sure where that stuff's at. So, all right. So we know that PDK1 works. I'm gonna table that for a second. We'll go back in here to my launcher and go back into my library, and let's look at my old 423 Plat Dev kit. Because again, like I said, I have my stuff all working, and then, oh, excuse me, when I moved it all over, I lost a couple things. So hopefully what I can do is I can take my Plat Dev kit 423 version, copy my animation blueprint stuff that I converted over to work with this game, move all that stuff into the new directory, and get it all working again so I can move on and get back to what I was doing. Okay, so that rabbit has all the stuff there. There's my rabbit blueprint. All right, so what we'll do is we'll go show and explorer. That is under the 423 content rabbit folder. All right, so I'm going to take both of these, the rabbit and the Pro Sound collection, and I'm going to copy both of those and go back to my D drive here and find PDK1 and go into the content directory, and we're going to paste that in. We'll give that a little while because it's got a lot of sounds in there. One thing I didn't like when I put the sound files in from that sound collection I purchased, it's a lot of stuff, and there's no way to like really use just a little bit of it. So if, like, you got to install everything. I wish they had come up with a way that you had them broken up into different installer packs based on genre or something. Seems like there should be a more elegant way to manage that type of thing. But again, I'm trying something new here, just live streaming for the sake of putting on some content. Normally I do tutorial videos, which I try and make a little bit more concise and to the point from the ones that I've seen out there. Some of them get a little bit rambly, and sometimes you get lost along the way. So what I do is I try and find a process that works and then turn it into a 5, 6, 10, 12-minute video. And I highly recommend, if you're just getting started with Unreal Engine, that you go and check some of those out, because the first thing you want to do when you start building a new game is you want to get a character in there that you can use for running around and play testing your levels and start blocking stuff out and figuring out how things work. And I don't have a lot of time, so what I look to do is I look to find things that are already kind of like I would like them to be, and then see if I can do something with them to make them more the way that I want them. That if they're already pretty close, like these kits from MSOD Brushbeard are really stellar, and you just get down to where you could just create levels and change a couple things to make it more your own, and you've got yourself a very robust kit already built. So these things take forever. Look at all this. Alright, well, while that's all moving around there, I'm going to get back out of that kit. Let's let that continue to go, but I should be able to open up my PDK1 here. PDK1. And that stuff will continue to copy over in the background. Most of which is just sounds, It's crazy. Oh. Hopefully you guys are all doing pretty good. I know a lot of us are cooped up in the house right now, and I live in New Jersey, and in New Jersey we're basically on like a 8 p.m. curfew, and they're highly encouraging people to not go out, and it's really a shame because there's not much you can do right now. But we'll see how it all pans out here in the next couple weeks or days or whatever. I know a lot of us are not looking forward to being stuck around here in the house in New Jersey. And I also DJ 2 nights a week in the local bars, so I'm losing a lot of income right now for the the weeklies. But luckily my job is still intact at the moment, and I'm still getting paid to work from home. So during the daytime I do that, and then in the evenings I'll probably start doing this until we get back to a normal life, until I start DJing again. But just letting these assets get discovered here. And if you guys have something in particular that you want to work on, I'm starting to pick up some subscribers here, and I see some of you guys pop in and out on watching the videos, and I get some comments on some videos. But if you guys have something in particular you'd like to try and figure out, let me know, because I'm trying to figure stuff out as well. And if I have a little feedback, it helps me figure out which direction to go in to help people out the most. Or maybe even something I can pick up along the way. I get some great suggestions from you guys from time to time. It's interesting to me here, though. Oh, it's still, man, it's a lot of stuff. Here we go. Waiting for this rabbit folder to show up with my rabbit animations in it. There it is. And it looks like I got everything in there. But what I'm going to do, yeah, 3 changes. Would you like to import them? Now, 3 changes to source content files have been detected. Would you like to import them? It's an interesting question. Let's see what changed. Okay, so those are just new things. I'm going to say import those. And give it a second to process. Looks like we're good. Yeah. Okay. So what does all this mean? Well, if we go into the platformer development kit in our gameplay here somewhere, under base maybe? Base blueprints? No, some things have changed around. Let's see. Environment, interactables. Not sure what we got going on here. There we go. So we have a BP rabbit, which basically should be, yeah, that's our main blueprint. But in here, let's see our viewport. Okay, so on that mesh, so they use the SK rabbit, and then they use the rabbit anim BP. I should be able to switch this over to use my CR01. I'll have to scale that guy down a little bit, it looks like. And under the animation mode, I'm going to say use animation blueprint, and the blueprint should be called TC Rabbit Anim. This is what I had in the original kit. Okay, now he's huge because the scale's been scaled up to 2. So I'm going to knock him back to 1. That should get him back down to around the right size. Close enough. Compile, save, and if my hunches are correct, if I go back to maps, not next level. Let's see if I go, but map starting level, and play. There's my guy, there's my jump. Now he's doing something a little weird with his jumping now. And basically all that should mean is that I have to just fix the timing on some of his jump sequences. And his knockback doesn't work right anymore. So I'm stuck now and I can't get up. And part of that is because probably in the logic for the game, there is something telling us that, let's see, something telling him that he can't get back up yet. So go to character, player, blueprints, and in that BP rabbit, we want to go into the, we want to go to the animation blueprints. Animation, rabbit anim blueprint, and rabbit anim BP. What's the difference here? One of these needs to have the state machine in it for the animation graphs. Okay, so this includes all of his double jumpy stuff. And so I will have to take these blueprints and that blueprint for the locomotion. I'm probably going to have to bring those into my area and add animations for these. So what MSOD suggested in one of those other things too is if I duplicate this, let's see what's in this one, Rabbit and BP. So I don't know what the difference is. To me, they look the same. 183, 177. I don't know which of these does what. I'll have to talk to them and find out what the differences are between these. But anyway, what you can do with some of these, you can right click on this and say duplicate. And I'll call this TC underscore rabbit underscore, I'm going to call it V2. BP for blueprint. And then I should be able to take this thing and drag it down to my rabbit character and say move it here. Go to my rabbit character and take that TC rabbit and move it into animations and say move here. Go into the animation folder where that's at, and basically if I were to take, has this been saved yet? If I go into my animation right here where I picked my mesh, let's see if I got TC Rabbit V2 BP is in there now. And I should have nothing going on because I don't have my animation files assigned to this. None of them work with that character. Okay, so now I can go back to my rabbit. Animations, TC Rabbit V2 BP. And under the animation graphs, what is it doing? There we go. Alright, under the animation graph for locomotion, by starting, see this play jump out anim? Well, this character that's assigned to doesn't have that. So what I would do is I would go over here and say, let's see, I can say play. And there should be a file in here for the animations. So he's got play jump out and all that kind of stuff. I got to figure out what I might have to do is play around with the idea of looking at my old one versus this new one. TC Rabbit. Animation graph. Starting. I had play stand up. All right. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause this or get out of here for a little while. And oh wait, there we go. There's Sovereign Brand. Sorry about that. I didn't even see you jumped in there. I don't know if it's going to help you much because I'm still noodling around in here. But I'll say hi there to you in the chat. But if you have any specific questions, let me know there, Sovereign Brand. I'm noodling around with the idea of doing a live stream while I'm working on this platformer game. And I don't know how much of this you saw because I didn't even notice you popped in there. I was kind of in my own little world for a second. But I'm going to go through and try and take this original blueprint that I worked on for locomotion and go through and figure out what all the different animations were and map them over to my new blueprint for this new version. Because in here, what we have is it's assigned to this other rabbit character. And I don't remember how I switched that before to make it associated with the other character. I probably said retarget anim blueprint, and then I would have had to have said find my skeleton there, and I'll call it TCV2. And let's see what that does. Yeah, it should break a lot of stuff, but let's see. Actually, I think this is what I did last time, because those files are now associated with that. Let me move these. Hey there, Felix Patterson. How you doing? Or Peterson? Peterson? Looks like Peterson, maybe. Yeah, so I'm thinking that since I'm trapped in the house and I go through a lot of these things where I'm just noodling around in the background, I've got this game kit that I got from a guy named Demsod Brushbeard for this platformer development kit. And I have a ton of assets from Synty Studios, and one of the things I wanted to do is to put together kind of a combo game where you'd have a little bit of a platformer and a little bit of a hack and slash type deal. I figured this would be a good opportunity to try and work my way through that. But what I don't want to do is tie you guys up with a bunch of like me poking around and hunting for stuff. But if you have specific questions while I'm looking at this stuff, feel free to let me know, and I'll see if I can get anything figured out. I'm going to drag these into here and move them all over to that same folder. And then we're going to go into Rabbit. And actually, I want to put these, I should have moved them over into here. I'm going to put them into my animations folder, because I believe that all these V2 animations are now associated with this V2 blueprint, which is right there. So I'm going to get rid of this one. That was just a copy of the other blueprint. And the reason that's warning me right now is because in the game mode, I have that associated with my original animation thing. And I'm going to go back and change that if it actually goes to successfully force deleting it, which you're not supposed to do, which is what they're warning me about right here. I do it all the time, and so far it hasn't had a significant impact on what I'm doing, usually because I'm obliterating things that I brought in there myself. But once it gets done being locked up, we'll jump over there and see what's going on. So the way I'm set up right now, I have my stream running off my main computer, and then I have my iPad set up on the side so I can see the chat window. So it's working pretty good, but I didn't notice that you guys had jumped in there because I'm kind of bopping back and forth. How long you guys been working on games in there? You guys in the chat? Actually, I can't see. I'm saying you guys, but I don't know if these are men or women in here. Can't tell. How long have you been working on games, and is there anything I should be doing different than what I'm already playing around with here? Oh, Force Delete froze on you for the first time today? Yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on here. I'll probably have to restart it. Looks like it did freeze. Every time they update, I have to put a bunch of stuff on, get all these duplicates, you know. Had to exit the engine, start it up, then first delete all the things that depend on the animations. Yeah, what I should have done is I should have de-threaded the association between this blueprint and my main character. But you're probably right. I'm probably going to have to exit out of this thing and come back in. Let's say close window. We'll do a force delete here. Task manager. And we'll go into the UE4 editor and end the task. Alright, we'll go back in. And instead of force deleting that, I'll do it a slightly different way. Where'd that window go? And this is some live stream here, isn't it? I never promised this would be professional. You guys are going to see some behind the scenes stuff here of how I go through the same thing you do. So PDK1 is what we're working in. And since I wanted to delete that other kit reference, or the other reference to my blueprint, that's what I'm going to go do. So yeah, that's good. If you're just getting into UE4 gaming, I'll tell you there were a couple really good tutorials that I ran across. One of them was from a channel called Virtus, and you may have seen that already. Virtus Learning Hub or whatever it is. They have some really good tutorial content. But what I've found with that is they take you down a very specific path, and sometimes you get towards the end and then they go on to something else. And a lot of that, there's enough there to get you most of the way to where you should be. But if you're looking for like a full-blown tutorial set, I don't know that that's it. I know there's another guy by the name of Ryan Laley, who does some really good tutorials also. Sovereign, I recommended Ryan to you as well. Hopefully you got a chance to check that channel out because he does some really good stuff. Here's what I'm going to do. I got to get rid of these references. So I'm going to go back to the Platformer Dev Kit and into Character Player Blueprints, BP Rabbit, and I'll go to the Mesh. And I'm going to switch this in here to be that reference instead. And now I should be able to go back into my animation section and get rid of this because it's no longer referenced anywhere. That should just get right out of there now. Hopefully. There we go. Okay, so the moral of the story is make sure that when you delete something that it's not referenced somewhere else. So now what I should have is under my player blueprints, I should have my character here with a blueprint that doesn't work yet, but it has all the animations on it. So what I think I did last time, I don't know how much of this you guys saw when you first logged in, but the last time I did this, I already had a working version of this, but there were two updates that kind of made it so I had to go back through and work on them again. So that's what we're doing here. All right, so under the V2 stuff, what we should have now is in the anim graph, the locomotion. Yeah, see what it did is it changed this to play TCV2 jump out anim, but now it's targeted to this skeleton. So I think I can go in here and say play and scroll up. And see, these are animations that are associated with that character. And when I retargeted the blueprint on there, that makes it so that all the other animations that are available to this character are now available. So I'm going to say getting up. And we'll put that on here. And was there anything else special about that? There's a knockback end at the last little part of that frame. So we'll do the same thing on here. We're going to take this out. We'll delete that. We'll say play getting up. And in the end of that, we'll just... Actually, I already had a knockback end in there because these are my other animations. So let's save that. So there's one of them. And then for our idle state, let's see, locomotion, idle, walk, and run. I should already have a blend space for my other character. So TCV2, idle, walk, run. We'll go... Oh, there's a blend space player. So blend space. Alright, so there's a blend space player. TCV2 idle walk run blend space. Where is... I should have a walk run blend space, idle walk run blend space already out here somewhere for the rabbit. So I should just be able to change the reference in here. But I don't know which one it is. Okay, it's not that one. Guess that's one way to figure it out. Click on it and see what it is, right? Idle walk run. So it's not that one. Well then, Now I guess what we got to do. This one had idle 01. And run 01. Okay, it's all coming back to me now. So over here we're going to get idle 01. So now you can see I got some idle there. And then run 01. We'll put that here. That's run 02. Shouldn't matter too much. Let's see what the difference is. Okay, run 02. What's run 01 look like? A little bit more straightforward. All right, good enough. So we'll save that. And what that should mean is if I compile these and save it, when I hit play, I should at least get an idle animation. Okay, so see how my character is looping and playing start with the get up? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into that animation blueprint for the locomotion. And it's not this one. It's under the locomotion for getting up. You just highlight this and see where it says loop animation. We're going to cut that off, compile, save, go back in and hit play, and it should just happen one time now. Okay. And I can jump, and I can slide my character around. Of course, I don't have any of my animation stuff on yet, but my character is in there and interacts with objects. Okay. And I should be able to die. Yep. And it should start me back over. And there we go. Alright, so we're making progress. I may not feel like it, but we really are. So inside of my rabbit blueprint there, getting up. I don't think that's what was in the original, though. I don't think I played getting up. I think I played something like standing up. Let's go back to the original blueprint. Locomotion, starting. So this one was called stand up. It only played one time. And it was this deal here. So let's do that. And we're going to stand up. I wonder if I can copy these. Copy. Go into here. Locomotion for starting. Control V. Paste that in there. Drag this over. Kill that. And compile. Yep. So we might be further along than we thought we were. Let's go through these line by line, then we'll go back here. Thank you. So in one of my other videos, Felix, responding to your comment there, if you look at one of my other videos, I talked about embedded animations, and that's where I got this character from. So when I ran across MSOD's project that had a rabbit in it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. The reason I use this humanoid rabbit is because as I mentioned earlier in this video and some of the other ones, this character would eventually be in a hack and slash type thing. I want to work with my Synty Studio assets that I have to use some of those other characters that are in there. I have like the Pirate Pack, I have the Ancient Kingdoms packs and all that kind of stuff. They just put out a new one that they're working on that looks pretty good. So under this, let me just finish up what I'm doing here. TC Rabbit and BP, locomotion. Now we're going to go to idle, walk, run. And what I'll do is I'll just copy this whole thing right here. And we'll go back. Again, I'm just hoping that this all works. So idle, walk, run here. See if I can just V2 that in there. I'll put that to here. And delete. And delete. Compile and save. And we'll do the same thing. We'll go back here. So that was our idle, walk, run. And then we've got a jump start. Copy that. Go back to here. Locomotion, jump start. And just paste that in there and then put it onto the output. So I know I'm moving kind of quick now, but what I had done, I mean, basically his original, MSOD's original package had all these different animations in there in the clips. And if you looked, I'm going to go in here to his original player animations. So see all these? He's got to climb up, right? That's the character climbing up. He's got a death animation with these notifications in it. So when I first started playing with this pack in version 1, I figured if I took my character and got animations for each of these, I could put them into the game and replace his blueprints and get all this stuff to work. And actually that's pretty much exactly what does work. So I think what I need to do, this is my jump start. I think I just need to go through and replace the ones that I have. And the ones that I don't have are basically hanging and double jump. And I don't know if I have an end level. Oh, this is, okay, so this is when he jumps into the hole at the end. And I may have had that in the other one. Let's see. Was there an end level in here? Yeah, so I had that already. I wonder if I could just take this whole thing and go back to this blueprint. I wonder if I can just paste this whole thing in here. You see where I'm heading with this, I guess. Maybe I can take that and we'll drag this whole thing up here. And it looks like basically 95% of this is the same, except you got climb up, hanging, and double jump. Oh, look, it made them all -1s because I pasted them in here. Yeah, I feel like I could just go in here and put, maybe copy this. Can I copy? Wait a minute, what happened there? So I'm just hitting Control Copy. And come over here and hit Control V. Move this out of the way again. I got too many things now. Yeah. Alright, let's go back here a little bit. I think I'm going to get this to work pretty fast, actually, now that I see how this is all wired up. Move that out of the way a little bit. And these are my old ANMs, and these are his new ANMs. So, can I go copy, we'll do Control Control, Control. And I could probably even go... once you click off of it, it's done. I can't click the node. Oh, it will let me collect it. Alright. Because really what happens is here, inside of these, this is where all these variables and transitions and stuff come in, right? So we got to make sure that in our anim graph, we have things wired up properly. Yeah, sorry, I just saw your comment about the Fantasy Kingdom pack. If you go on their website, they actually have a sale going on right now, but they've only released, for the Kingdom pack, they've only released the Unity version of it. And, you know, of course, always the Unreal Engine version comes second, so that's on its way. But it looks like it's going to be really good. It's a little pricey, but you get a lot of stuff. So I guess it's really not that pricey. If you're interested at all in using their stuff, I think they have some really great stuff there. Okay, what are we doing here? I'm losing track of myself. What I was saying about these is that these little nodes here have to be copied also. And okay, so what we got to do is move this end level over some. That's going to give us the same look here. So now we can take our climb up, and I'm going to hold down Control and hit this transition and this transition. And I'm going to hit Control Copy, click over near here and hit Control V. And it didn't give me the thing. Control Copy, Control V. No, it's not going to do it either. Alright, so we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. We'll go climb up, has a transition into idle walk run. We go in here to the rule, copy that, back to locomotion, back to the line on the anim graph, and paste that in, and just tie it to the can enter transition. Now the time remaining ratio on the climb up anim, I don't want to do that. I don't have an animation called climb up yet, so that's going to throw a little bit of a problem into it later. But we got our first one here, right? Duplicated. And then there's another one that goes down to knockback start. So if we climb up down to knockback start. Well, how do you do that? Control copy. Can I click it on this line? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Gotta find a way to create a rule. Found an extra entry node. That's probably just because I got this dupe in here. Yeah, it's going to give me errors. Okay. I'm not very used to the materials and textures that Synty uses yet, though, with only one material slot. Yeah, I don't know. They seem to look pretty good though. Every one of their packs that I've purchased so far, I really like. What did I just do here? Somehow I just shut the chat off. Where did that go? Oh, here you go. Live chat back on. All right. Sorry about that. And again, I'm sorry I'm missing your comments because I'm over here just trying to figure out what's going on. And it's weird because this thing, after I'm over playing around with other stuff, and then all of a sudden it just shows up that there's a slot there. Again, these shouldn't work, but I should be able to save them at least. Locomotion. All right, so now I got that one. And that one. And then we need hanging. Control copy over to hanging. And hanging is going to go to climb up. Whoa. I'm trying to place a node. Let me blow this up a little bit. I'm having a tough time getting that mouse on there. Okay. So that gives me hanging one there. And I guess if you click off of it, it goes and creates it automatically. You don't have to sit here and look like an idiot. Copy this. Go back to locomotion. Paste that in there. Tie them together. Save it. Go back. That's hanging. And hanging has another node down to jump start. And what's in the jump start is hanging. Just tying these all together. Basically trying to duplicate what's in his new blueprint with what's in his old one because I already had a bunch of work put into trying to get these animations wired up here. And I think we're going to be able to knock this out. That's a one-way there. Now hanging has a node going to jump loop. The one that goes to... Oh no. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Hanging to jump loop. Copy that. We go hanging to jump loop. And we're going to go in here and hit Control V. Tie that into the results. Save it. Go back to locomotion. And this one's going from jump loop to hanging. So from jump loop to hanging. And we go and get that transition is hanging. Oh, very tedious. But if this works the way I wanted it to, it'll be pretty good. Alright, so I got both of those. So the last one should just be this double jump. So we copy double jump. Come over here and hit paste. And then that's got 3 connections on it. So double jump goes to jump start. No, that's incorrect. Scratch that. I won't let me delete that. Delete that whole thing. And double jump should have a thing coming to it from jump start. So from jump start to double jump. And from jump loop to jump, or double jump, and then from double jump into jump loop, and get these states, grab this, Control V and connect the pin. I'm going to go back to locomotion, and then we're going to go, that's from there to there, copy all that, Control V to paste it, and then just drag off and connect this pin. Back to locomotion, grab all this, Control copy, go back in there, Control V, and connect the pin. Save that. Go back to locomotion one more time. Let's just look at what we got. We got, from what I can tell, I'm just glancing at this pretty quick, but it all looks the same to me. I mean, I can move these things down a little bit to make them look a little bit more visually the same, so you can see the connectors there, but I don't know, my eyes work pretty quick, and I think that that looks good. So if that's good, we should be able to take this whole thing here and just delete it. And then we can go back into these, hit compile, climb up one to knock back start one will never be taken. Please connect something to can enter transition. Where's that at? Climb up one to knock back start one. Well, we did connect it. Oh, this is... Hold on, I lost my thing here. So it's telling me something's not going to work, but I don't even see the thing that it's talking about. So I think that this is just a climb up one to knock back start one, climb up one to knock back start one here also. But this one's not associated with a node. So I'm going to highlight that and delete it and compile again, and I should be green check now. Alright, good. Now, do we want to... I don't think we have to, but I'm going to. I'm going to rename all these because they had those underscores on them from being duped in, and I just don't like that. So let's take all these names that are out here with the underscore ones on them and rename them. And It'd be nice if this works and I only got to come up with the animations for like a couple more things for hanging and double jump, basically. Oh, and climb up. No, climb up. That was climb up. I'll have to go back and look at it again. Like I said, it probably doesn't matter that I rename this, but I just feel like I'll sleep better if I do. I don't know if there's a reference somewhere, that says specifically about playing jump loop or whatever, and it wouldn't find jump loop _1, so I don't want to break anything by leaving that a mess. But I believe that's got all of our -1 or _1 references taken care of. Compile, save, and let's hit play. Okay, we've got movement. So his jump, the problem with his jump, I think, is a root bone issue that has nothing to do with this game. I think that has to do with the animation that I have assigned to it. But he's running, he's jumping. Now, what he shouldn't be able to do, yeah, see, he doesn't have any animation when he's in this state of hanging on something, so he's just going to be hanging there, but he can still jump. Now he can't because there's a thing that says whenever that state, well now, yeah, you got to wait a second, but it says it takes the time. Remember in our animation thing there, it said whenever the time of this hang was over, then he can enter back into this other state. So I got to get a hanging animation. And his double jump won't come into play until I go and find the spring that's located in this level. And I also got to work with his animation for when he's in the air too long. You can see that there's a bad loop in there. And that's because I grabbed a bunch of stuff off of the what was the thing? Off of can't think of the name of it. The Adobe thing. I'm losing my mind over here. The Adobe site for the animation, Mixamo. I went to Mixamo and I grabbed a bunch of things to. This is interesting here. So I don't think I'll be able to fire these. Oh, excuse me. This says here's some poop balls. You can throw them with the right mouse button, but I don't think I can because I don't think I have a way to fire those. Let's see. And the reason I don't have a way to fire those, I'm going to show you. Yeah, see, I can't shoot anything there. So let me get out of here. And here's what's going on with that. If we go into the player animation, there's a rabbit. He might have a skeleton somewhere. Where's the rabbit? Animation. It's not in his blueprint. Oh, here, I should be able to go to Rabbit Anim BP and say find skeleton. So there's a rabbit skeleton. And if you go in here, see this right here? He's going to have a throw socket that's attached to his lower right arm, and I don't have that throw socket there. So, force always animated. And again, I might just be able to simply go in there and put these on. So I need a throw socket, a helmet socket, and a pelvis socket. But let's just start out with the throw socket. The helmet socket's for a lantern. Actually, I'll do both. So this goes on his head, and this just goes on his right arm. Throw socket. Actually, I could probably leave this open. Go down to my rabbit and go into, here's his skeleton. And we can go into, let's see, where's his, right arm. Whoa. Let's get his arm. Where's his arm at? Well, I guess we'll just have to grab it over here. So right upper arm, right forearm, right hand. I'm going to go in here and right click and say add socket. And I'm going to call this throw socket. Ah, wants me to rename it here. Throw socket. Now let's look at the other one. So his throw socket is like right at the end of his arm. Anything special about that thing? Force always animated. Looks like it does the same thing. Ah, excuse me. So let's save that. And we'll go back in. Yeah, thanks, Miximo. Sorry. Yeah, like I said, well, number one, I'm half asleep. It's been a long couple of days. I'm sure it has been for everybody else too. But I'm also trying to navigate through looking at the chat window, figuring out what I'm doing over here, and trying to actually figure out what I had done before versus what I have to do now. So I apologize if this is very disjointed. And again, I don't normally do this type of thing because I hate when you're trying to learn something when somebody's just rambling on about a bunch of nonsense. But this isn't really a tutorial video per se. This is kind of a, hey, while I'm working on this game, I'll throw some chat on in the background if somebody has questions about, what I'm doing or anything I can answer from any previous videos I've done or whatever. Maybe this is a good chance to do it. Maybe give you a little inspirado. Alright, so now I've collected one of those, and when I hit my right mouse button, I got nothing. I don't think that the enemies have to be visible to do that. No. I wonder if you can jump on these guys. Probably not. Oh, look at that. There goes my hearts, and I should die now. Well, that'll definitely kill me. Well, that's good. I'm glad you find it interesting. My normal workflow is I try and figure something out, and if I figure out a tip or a trick that makes it quicker, I go ahead and let everybody else know about it. And when I'm frustrated or whatever, I just go and work on something else. I really want to get these animations tighter, but I've actually, as I said earlier, I contacted the guy who actually built this template kit to see if he would be interested in working on fixing that for me to get the right animation timing. Because I just don't have the time and the patience to really sit around and noodle that all out. But oh, look, there we go. So there's my right click. It just didn't do anything with it. That's interesting. You can see the balls in my hand now. What do we got to do with that? What does his character do? All right, we got the throw socket. And what did his have? Find skeleton. Throw socket. I wonder if that matters. The bone name. Shouldn't. Wouldn't think it would anyway, but maybe it does. Alright, so somewhere in his animation blueprint then, I would have to assume that there's something that handles the throwing. There you go, anim notify, throw end is throwing. You know what? I bet it's something pretty simple. I'm going to take a stab at guessing that if we looked at the preferences or project settings and we look at the not maps and modes but the inputs, oh no, we do have a jump, interact, and throw. Right mouse button is mapped. Yeah, I was thinking maybe this wasn't mapped because it was in Project 1 and I copied Project 2 onto Project 1. But that's there. Maybe it has to fire with a throwing animation or something. I don't know. What's anybody else think out there? Throw. No results found in there for throw. Nothing for throw there. There we go. Throw. Play throw anim. Where's all this stuff at? Ah, interesting. Wait a minute. Oh, where'd that come from? So there's a rabbit anim under a rabbit underscore anim BP and a rabbit anim blueprint, and this one has the animation locomotion. This doesn't include throw in it. So the one that I copied is not the one that he's using. I don't think. I think he's got, I don't know why he has two of them in here. But the good news is we found it. So we should be able to go throw. Throw just has two connections to idle walk run and one connection to knockback start. And then inside of here, what's going on? Well, we'll leave this open. We'll go back to mine. And we're working with this one. And we'll go back to his. We'll go locomotion. Copy. Paste. We'll go let's see. Haven't gotten to range combat yet. Still looking at the animation tutorials, like movement related stuff. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, the animation tutorials, I put a bunch of them out there as I was mentioning earlier. And what I did is I tried to go through every possible scenario of bringing a character in that you could think of. I worked with Synty asset characters. I worked with Mixamo characters. I worked with getting Mixamo animations onto a Synty character. Taking Mixamo animations and putting them onto the Paragon characters. Bringing a Paragon character in 2 or 3 different ways to keep the blueprints working. I did all kinds of stuff like that because I ran into the same issues. I was trying to figure out how to get a character and get an animation. And finally, I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, I got a pretty decent, I think I got a pretty decent handle on how all that works. And I went through and I started playing with the idea of taking the RPG starter kit RPG kit and marrying that up with the Synty studio assets because they have a kingdom or like a dungeon crawler type level in there. I thought it'd be pretty cool, and it actually is pretty cool. It looks pretty good. I might maybe I'll pull up a little snapshot of that here in a second. But then I started getting into procedurally generated. Oh, you found my retargeting tutorials. Okay, cool. I'm glad you found those useful. I tried to make them as simple as I could and go through a lot of different scenarios. I did find out later on though with the Synty Studio characters, we may have been better off doing a animation blueprint from the ground up and then assigning animations from like Mixamo or something to that, because in the retargeting manager, because of the skeletal size difference, it did look like it stretched some stuff out here and there. And sometimes in my mapping, I didn't account for the fingers, where a Synty polygon character has like maybe 3 different bones. One is for like the index finger, and the other one is like for the middle ring and pinky fingers all together, and then the thumb is separate. And if you don't have a map that way, sometimes you'll see their fingers are kind of flared out and bent up. And I really kind of should go back through and revisit the idea of straightening that out, because those were my very early attempts at trying to figure stuff out. And, I was just kind of poking holes in the dark there and hoping for the best. But I don't know. Some people found them useful and other people, I guess, didn't, because I got a couple of negative responses on them. But I guess you're going to get that with everything. I just wish if people put a thumbs down and they'd actually tell you why, and then you could try and make things better for them. But let's see, knockback start. So this has to go from throw to knockback start. And let's go back to his idle walk run has these. What are we doing here? Let's see if we can get those on there. Okay, idle walk run. Get that in there and save it. Oh, I just closed my blueprint. Let's open that back up. Go back to locomotion is what I meant to do. Go locomotion here. This is the one in the opposite direction. Copy that over. Save it. Locomotion, and we got one more here. Looking for that one. Throw to knockback start. Throw to knockback start. Control copy that. And then paste this in there. And save that. Okay, now let's see if we can compile that. No. Alright, idle walk run blend space. That's in my throw state. And my play throw anim, they reference sequences that use a different skeleton. Okay, so what we need is my blend space, which is, let's see if we can just find it under blend space. And we've got 100 of them, of course. Bringing this one. Yeah, oddly enough, that is mine. Alright, so wait a minute here. I think you have to rate this and say, is it break? No, there's a way to figure out which one of these it's actually tied to. Okay, so it's going to the X, and there's the X. So if I go from speed to X, and then from here to base pose, that should replace that. I don't know if that needs to be called speed. Probably not. And then we need an anim for, let's see, we can play. I don't think I have a throw animation. All right, so I just saw your comment here about the procedural generation stuff. So, okay, so what I did is I had taken the Synty character dungeon, the Synty dungeon rather, and I was working on a version of that had the RPG starter kit with it. And then I was like, well, I want to have a way to create more dungeons. And I didn't want to sit down and draw everything. So I ran across a procedural generator. It's actually called Dungeon Architect. And I did a little bit of a video featuring that as well. It's in my playlist under the Northhammer RPG series I was working on. So if you look at that, what that thing does is you create these like template nodes in there, and you tell it to how it's going to procedurally generate everything. You kind of like assign your textures to it, or your different assets. You say which wall pieces you want to use for the wall, and which decorations you want to use for the wall hangings, and all that kind of stuff. And when you drop this node off in the world and you get a random seed and generate it, it'll build a dungeon for you. So what the problem for me was is I couldn't figure out the Synty Studio assets are not all created in a modular way. And using that tool kind of requires that everything has the same chunk size to it. So, if you were doing something that was like 8 by 8 or 10 by 10, you can set it up and say it's always going to be those things. So basically the grid snapping value of how that thing lays out wall sections, if you can find some consistency there, you're in pretty good shape. Now, the other thing I was going to play around with is using the Dungeon Architect to create a basic dungeon and then see if I could go and replace the textures on it to use the ones from the Synty Studio assets, because that would make it at least look a little bit more in the same style, and then you could populate it with the other tools that are in there. But check out in my playlist, there should be a thing in there for Northhammer RPG, and I talk a little bit about that whole process there. I need to come up with some type of a throw animation here. So what am I going to use? Well, I have one for push start. What's this do? Well, that would look weird. But I'm not trying to get it to look right. I'm trying to get it to function. So let's go ahead and throw that on there. So we're going to say play. No, the dungeon from Synty is not modular in the sense that you can just stick any wall section with any other wall section. But you could probably take the same wall section and duplicate it several times, and then if you picked certain features and said that's the way to if you had certain wall sections that you knew what they were set up and you got it all figured out, I'm sure it would click together. Now what's funny is if you go and watch the trailer video for the guy who wrote the Dungeon Architect, he actually has in his video, he uses Synty polygon assets in his trailer video for some of his procedural generation. But I think it was the space pack or something that he was using. And I sent him several messages, the guy that wrote the thing. I wanted to commission him to actually build me a set of generators for the Synty Studios stuff. Because in my mind, if I could pay the guy who built the thing to actually send it to me in the way that it's supposed to be, it saves me a lot of time. I would spend the money to do that, and I don't know what he would charge me because he hasn't gotten back to me. But I figure some of these guys could probably use a little side gig here and there, working with their own tools for somebody who wants to use them. But I don't know. I think he could make money by selling generators for other people's kits. So if he said, here's a dungeon generator for Synty asset packs, and here's a generator for space levels using Synty space sci-fi kits, or whatever. I think it would be a pretty good market for him to make little add-ons and stuff like that, because I think people would buy them. I know I certainly would. So let me go in here. We're going to say play, push, and we'll just do play, push, start. And we'll throw that in there to the blend pose 0, and we'll get rid of that. And we'll save it. And it compiles properly now. And I feel like if I go hit play, all right, we got same thing we had earlier. Shouldn't be anything different here. Let's go down there. The thing that blows my mind about this MSOD Brushbeard guy, though, and this kit that I'm playing with here, is just how beautiful this work is. And he's trying to sell you a platformer kit, but I mean, you're getting so many great assets in here. And again, I was saying they look so much like a Synty thing. No, it doesn't let me throw anything. Has nothing to do with proximity to these characters either. So I'll have to play around with that and figure out what's going on. Whoa! Just run right off the world there. Let's see. Yeah, so seeing as they're the ones who develop the tool, they know their way around the code and could probably make something pretty fast compared to someone who just purchased the tool. Yeah, I definitely think it would be a win-win as well. I feel like anytime you could get a person who developed a package to help a person who bought a package, you'd be in pretty good shape. So interestingly enough now, my character won't jump anymore, and I hit the right button to throw this ball, and it didn't throw it. So it's probably waiting for an animation sequence to end before it's going to let me jump again. Let's let it time out here. So that still works. Yeah. So I'm having some little issues here, but I mean, overall, this thing looks great, and looking forward to it. Now, what I was saying here, if you look at the overall style of this with these polygon, low poly kind of feel to it, what I was planning on doing, other than shutting my whole thing off here and ruining the stream, what I was planning on doing was going in here, and I have my, if I go into polygon, well, see in here I only have my polygon battle royale and adventure pack and all that kind of stuff, but on their site I actually got the entire thing. Let me see, I think I put them on my Google Drive too. So on my Google Drive, I think I have, let's see, where's all my Synty stuff? Synty, where you at? UE4 Synty. What's in here? 720, that's not big enough. Synty. Okay. So you can see here I have Polygon Pirates, the Modular Fantasy Hero Pack, Knights, Western Pack, Western Frontier, the War Pack, Vikings, Sci-Fi, Space City, Plain Nature, Fantasy Characters, the Heist Pack, the Farm Pack, Fantasy Rivals, Fantasy Characters, the Explorer kit, the Dungeon pack, and the City pack. And I think I have a couple other things that maybe aren't even in here because I bought them through UE4's asset store. But for example, if we were to take, I think I could take Polygon Knights. Is that the one that has the dungeon in it? I think it is. Polygon Knights or Dungeon Pack, actually. It's this one right here. Alright, so I'll download this. And we can go into my D drive. Save it there. Show that in the folder. And unpack. And then we have our Polygon Dungeon Unreal. And what I normally do with these, like I would just take Polygon Dungeons. I'm just going to copy that and go back up here to this platform developer kit into the content folder. And I would just literally right click in here and say paste. And now when I go back into my PDK1 kit, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong, I accidentally opened this up over here. Yeah, we want to go back to our library and get PDK1 from in here. And give it a second to find all that stuff. I spent a lot of money buying Synty asset packs for this project, and I'm glad that the MSOD Brushbeard thing came along because it saved me a ton of stuff. As I was saying earlier, I mean, his kits are only like in the mid, I think 25, 30, 35 bucks or something like that, but what you're getting is basically a full-blown game that if you can change it around a little bit, and you know, from there you basically become a level developer, or a level builder rather. I don't know, I just think it's going to look pretty nice when it's all said and done. Now we can go shrink this back down some. Where's my, there it is. Okay, so now I have my Polygon Dungeons in here, and if I go into their maps, into the demonstration map, you have this really, I don't know if you've seen this or not before, but this is a pretty nice pack. But I kind of feel like I could take the MSOD Brushbeard packs and the first two levels could lead you, that underground lair thing, or that underground level I was just in, could lead you into a level like this. Because if you zoom out from here, let's zoom out a little bit, these things have, there's an entrance in here somewhere. What was the thing called? You talking about the procedural generator? If you're talking about the procedural generator, it's called Dungeon Architect. Unreal Engine. And go to Marketplace. And just look for Dungeon Architect. Now, Dungeon Architect, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. So you see here, this is a $100 asset, Dungeon Architect Procedural Generator. I got it when it was on sale. Oh, the Brushbeard? Yeah, so anyway, real quick, this is the Dungeon Architect Procedural Generator that I was talking about earlier. $100, but if you look at the thing that it does and all the different stuff that it comes with in the Quick Start Guide and the User Guide, this thing is absolutely amazing and well worth the money. If you look for MSOD Brushbeard, MSOD Brushbeard, oh, wait a minute. I don't know why it doesn't find it that way. So go to Platformer Development Kit. and you'll find him here, MSOD Brushbeard. These are the two things he has, but currently he's working on, or maybe he just released a third version of this. And the way that I was working with this tools, or with this asset here, is you download Platformer Development Kit 1 and create a project. And then you do the same thing with Platformer Development Kit 2, and then you copy the contents from the Platformer Development Kit 2 and paste them over top of 1, and that merges everything together, so that you have all the things from version 2 in the version 1 kit. And I mean, you can just see that, like I said, it's a ready to go game. And if I can get a couple little things with the animations worked out, just with the timing of things, and marry this together with all of my polygon asset, all of my Synty polygon assets that I have, I should be able to build the game that I'm looking to build, which again is going to be a platformer. Basically, the platformers, the different platformer levels, will be to get you to transition from area to area within the game world. So if you look at this thing, I mean, this dungeon, this comes with the Polygon Synty Studios thing. And you can see how right in here, a lot of this stuff, see there's that broken bridge that goes out to nowhere. But there's no reason why you couldn't have a hole here that character that was in the underground layer could come up through here and navigate his way through this type of an environment. And it's got a lot of the same types of features in there, you know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. This is a pretty big dungeon to navigate. But I was even thinking of making this like a dungeon crawl hack and slash thing, so that little rabbit character ends up with a sword or a sword and a shield or whatever, and you've got all kinds of different things you could fight in here and gain treasure and yada yada yada. But I just thought it'd be interesting. But I did do a version of this where I used this dungeon with the other thing. I can show that to you real quick, even though it's not the title of this video, but kind of, I guess it all fits together in some way, shape, or form eventually. So hopefully the internet police will be kind to me. So I go back to my library again. I had been working on something called Northammer, and one of these I had, let me go and look at what's in the folder. Oh, not to configure the content. Yes, there's nothing in there. So it must be in my Northammer. I don't know if I have dungeons in here. No, I probably didn't bring that in. Action RPG. Well, I can show you in here. I don't know if I want to upsize that or not. I guess I guess I have no choice really. It's fine. Let's open it up, see what it does. I just got done deleting a bunch of little projects in here and tried to clean some of this stuff up. There's a really cool place on, if you go to the Epic Games, under this Learn tab. I don't know if you guys ever checked this out. I never realized it was even in here for a while. But there's all kinds of tutorials in here. And one of them, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a whole thing in here for, where's it at? Turn-based strategy. So here's the Action RPG kit. This is the one I was working with. I thought I already had that installed. Let's see. That only requires 8-bit Serious plugin because I bought a copy of this and installed it. But this thing, I don't know if they ever updated any of this stuff or not, but I don't know. This was a promising tool that I don't know where it went. See, they had a little thing on here that said, and many more. Documentation coming soon. This was quite some time ago. I never quite got the documentation. It looks like it's a really cool utility, but uh, we'll see. All right, so did this open up or just still converting project files in the background? So one thing I hate about this game engine is how long it takes to convert stuff. But there we go. It's installed now. I think it's going to go. I already did that. Wow, you got to put it in both versions. I was trying to open it with 424. Yeah, that's what I was telling you. That's what I'm saying. This Learn tab in the launcher, there is a ton of stuff in here. And, I mean, like multiplayer shootout, turn-based strategy game. I couldn't get that to work. I downloaded it, but I think you got to run a server for it or something. But the action RPG game, what I did with this, if you watch my video on the YouTube channel there for Northhammer RPG, it's based entirely on this. Excuse me. You take this action RPG kit, and then I just leveraged some of these things into maps that were generated from the Dungeon Architect and started laying out some things there. That would actually work out pretty well. Where am I at now? I'm back in PDK1. I'm not trying to get into there. This thing's acting squirrely on me now. It's probably because I'm bouncing around so much, this thing's punishing me for it. Yeah. Once again on the Learn tab, I will go down through here and show you that there's another thing in here. There's a platformer here, side-scroller platformer. Pretty cool. And then the strategy game, this is pretty neat too. This actually has you get turn-based defenses, and you can put them into, like, you can build turrets with bow and arrows or lava pits or anything like. Or I don't know about lava pits, but they were like things shooting fire out of it or whatever. And the enemy starts out on the other side of this and tries to march across to come over and take over your kingdom, and you set things up along the way to try and to shoot them, to keep them from getting and infiltrating your area. So this is a pretty cool game too. A lot of stuff going on in there. But the reason I was looking at this action RPG game is because I think pretty much everybody who ever goes down the path of trying to build their own game is like, man, if I could build my own game, I'd build something like, Neverwinter Nights meets Ultima Online meets blah blah blah, and you get this thing in your head where you're going to go and create the next big, RPG that, or maybe a Legend of Zelda game or something like that. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into building these things, and what I found the limitation on right away for me was in the artwork realm, which is where I started getting into the Synty Studios, and they put out so much great content for the price, and you're like, man, it's actually possible to build a game using some of these tools. Let's see if this thing will load now. Northhammer Action RPG. Probably not, but at one point I did have the Synty dungeon, and I was using it with Northhammer RPG. I do have. You know what? Oh, I see what's going on. Hold on. Let's go back here. I have Dungeon Architect, but what happened is, and I didn't realize this until just now. So here's Dungeon Architect. I have to install it to the engine for version 424 or 423 to open that up because it uses plugins that are inside of that tool. That is true. Once you make a reference inside of the engine, I guess you have to update it every time you update engine versions. It has to be installed to that engine as well. Didn't know about that until just now. So, I'm super rambly in this thing. By the time I get done talking, the viral apocalypse will be over. Maybe. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but like I said earlier, I live in New Jersey, and we have a 8 o'clock curfew where all the businesses basically have been shut down. The only thing that's open is essential type stuff like grocery stores, medical facilities, and things like that. And they're trying to keep the roads clear from 8 p.m. to 5 or 6 in the morning so that trucks can get in and out for delivery, restocks, and all that kind of stuff. You can't find toilet paper or hand sanitizer in a 50-mile radius around here. It's crazy. But luckily, I have a job where I'm able to work from home, and been getting a lot done during the day there because I don't have the normal interruptions of being on site and having meetings and phone calls and interruptions all day. So get a chance to do that work, and then hopefully here at the end of the night I'll be able to get on here and do some of these live streams or whatever. A prefabricator plug-in too. My goodness. Yeah, I'm from the United States. I'm in New Jersey. Prefabricator. Install that to 424. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And yeah, my concern is not necessarily the viral contagion issue, it's the government's reaction to it. And shutting everything down tends to get people in panic mode. So while everybody else was out buying toilet paper and hand sanitizer, I was out buying shotgun shells. Just because eventually I think it's going to get to where people are going to try and loot and riot and all that kind of stuff. But if we're lucky, it'll all kind of flatline on that curve a little bit, and maybe the world will get back to normal in another couple of weeks. But I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting how that whole thing went over. Just how quickly it shut everything down. All right, now I think I have all the plugins installed that I need. Let's see. The following modules are missing or built with a different engine version. Action RPG. Would you like to rebuild them now? Yes. I should have just reinstalled the 422 engine or whatever and ran them from there. My goodness. It was crazy. Oh, so where are you located? All right, let's see here. Oh, Sweden. Nice. I almost got a chance to go to Sweden. I was in Germany for the Oktoberfest, and that was in 2006, maybe 2008. I think it was 2006, and we traveled around for a little while, and we were talking about going to potentially going to Sweden. We ended up in the Black Forest and Garmisch and all that kind of stuff. Beautiful country over there for Germany. Everything was so clean. It was amazing. This takes forever. There we go. Let's see if that fires up. All right, so this is, I don't know if you saw this video before. Well, hopefully I just saw your comment about your government there. Hopefully your government does, hopefully your government responds and gets you guys safe. And hopefully they come out with a vaccine pretty soon or something to safeguard against whatever's going on there. But yeah, Germany was pretty cool. And Oktoberfest was, we didn't spend a lot of time there. We went in, we had a couple of very large beers and a bunch of people dancing on tables doing some German dances and stuff. It was something else, pretty wild. But we actually went to Munich, which is the origin of Oktoberfest. So we were really in the spot where it started, and we didn't spend much time there. We were probably there for like a couple of hours, but it was just really in a tent drinking beer with a bunch of people, and just had a great time. But we weren't really in the mood for walking around too much because we had spent most of the day in the Black Forest area out near Castle Liechtenstein, um, and doing some traveling around to different restaurants out there. But man, the food was great. The people were really nice. The country was clean, and just beautiful, beautiful scenery. Just some amazing stuff. A lot of really neat handmade arts and crafts, and just beautiful stuff everywhere. Let's see. Man, I think I clicked the wrong button here. This thing, my computer's never quite this slow. But it could be because I'm live streaming too. My goodness. So, yeah, I don't do, just getting back on this whole thing with the game programming and all that kind of stuff. I don't really do that much of the game programming myself. What I typically try and do is find something that's close to what I would like it to be, and then see if I can do something with it from there. And every once in a while, you run across things that are already so close to what you want that you just buy them and try and tweak them out a little bit. And that's what I'm doing with this whole thing. I love the Synty polygon stuff. I just thought it looked great, and I really wanted to use it in a couple different things. And one of my early ideas was to actually build. I know a couple of guys who own a Renaissance festival over here in the States. They have these things called Ren fairs, and it's basically like a medieval time type thing, but it's an outdoor theater, and they do a lot of like knights and jousting and horseback, and sword fighting and stuff like that. And one of the things I wanted to do is to build a VR virtual reality Renaissance festival that mirrored their exact location and where their shops were set up so that people could get an idea of what goes on at the fair before they ever went there. And I thought it'd be cool to lay that over with some low poly assets so people could walk through the fairgrounds at different booths and things. And then I was going to have interactive items where when you clicked on it, it would actually pull up a 3D video of an actual day at the fair that you could do like a panoramic or a 360 kind of look at a stage show. And we do, when I was there, we were doing like, I don't know, probably about 12 or 13, maybe 14 different stage shows a day at each of the stages. They rotate out like every 30 minutes or whatever. So it's a pretty cool afternoon to go up there. You see a lot of really neat theatrical performances and things. But I thought it'd be pretty cool to do a virtual reality thing, and that's why I got into the Synty assets in the first place, because I thought, man, that low poly stuff would be great for VR. And sure enough, it is. And if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever played around with the VR building tools inside of Unreal Engine, they're pretty neat. But why is this thing taking so long? Man. Shut all that off. I think it's locked up. Yeah, it does sound like a fun idea. My problem is I have a ton of fun ideas and a very short amount of time. And I mentioned earlier I DJ on the weekends, and I also shoot pool. I'm a pool player in the American Pool Player Association leagues over here in Jersey, and I shoot Monday nights I shoot 8 ball, and Tuesday nights I shoot 9 ball, and then on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, I DJ. Plus I do weddings. I have a regular full-time job just like everybody else does, and my timing is very, very limited to get to play with the stuff that I'd really like to play with. Oh, you've never been to a Ren Fair in Sweden? That'd probably be pretty cool. I would imagine they're all very similar. It's you're just taking that time period and going through different things there for an outdoor play. Looks like this is locked up here. I'm gonna try it one more time. Let's go to Task Manager, and we'll kill this thing. And we'll try it one more time. If it doesn't launch this time, I'll have to find out what's wrong with it and rebuild it and get it up and running. It did the same thing last time. We got to 45% and then locked up. Interesting. I don't know. I was just going to try and show you the procedural generator thing. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go to Task Manager. Let's end UE4 again. Go back to the launcher tool. And we'll just go to, whoops, we'll go to library, show in folder. And this one here, under the content, this is where you got all your other stuff in here. So see all these DAs, these are Dungeon Architect things. And then the other stuff comes from the Action RPG. So theoretically, you could actually go down here and go to Action RPG, create a project, and we'll do a 424 project. Browse that out to the D drive and do, let's go ARPG Synty, call it something like that. Oh, it's not there. New folder, ARPG Synty. There we go. And we'll call this ARPG underscore Synty as well. 424, okay. A lot of assets on this machine. Crazy amount of stuff. Actually, what's this? That's my old one. I didn't see that one earlier. So this actually might be it. This one's running over here in the background, but Synty ARPG should actually be my ARPG file with the other stuff embedded inside of it. Let's see if that opens. If it doesn't, we'll come back and look at the other one. And I also had Polygon Dungeons in there. I don't know what the hell that was. Alright, so prefabricator plugin. We already have. But it's not installed on 423. So you got to go down here. Prefabricator. You say install the engine. Put it on the 423 version. Yeah, take your time. I'm just rambling on trying to load stuff. But when you get back, say you're back, and then I'll move on to the next phase of this for showing you this this version. But take your time. See if this works. I think this might be one of the biggest reasons I don't do live streams, just because it's so unpredictable as what's going to happen with these machines and the files and how long it's going to take. I'd rather not waste people's time with this type of stuff, but hopefully you're, I don't know, maybe you'll see something that is worthwhile. uh, I see you're back. Just killing time here, waiting for this thing to load. The problem is I built that a long time ago and then I upgraded the versions of the engine twice, and I never upgraded any of the project files that were underneath of it. And you would think there'd be an elegant way for that to actually happen. Let's see if this gets past 45. If it locks up at 45% again, I think we're going to have to use the brand new one. Yeah, it just doesn't play well with this. Alright. Here we go. Control-Alt-Delete. Task Manager. And UE4, kill it. And we'll go one more time. Now what I would like to see is what's in that version. So we'll go show in folder, content. Yeah, see this one has Polygon Dungeons in it. So what I should be able to do, we just created one a second ago called ARPG Synty. So show that in the folder. That's in my D drive. So we'll go here and say show in folder, go to content. What's in characters? Barbarous. That's all regular stuff. But I should be able to grab Polygon Dungeons, copy that. Yeah, I do the same thing with the engine versions. I think I've only ever successfully updated like maybe one other thing. I don't even remember what it was. It was something early on. Let's go back to D. Where are we at? Unreal Projects. ARPG Synty in the content folder. And we will paste Polygon Dungeons in there. Yeah, that's what I normally do. I take, like in the case of the project I was working on earlier with the platformer, that guy had a version, the first version he released. When he released version 2, he went back and updated project version 1, and so I had a midstream build and I had updates that I had to do. So I basically updated the project files, created a new version, and then copied the stuff over and merged the files together. But in the case of a new engine version, a lot of times I just updated the engine and opened up the asset packs and everything was fine. But some of the stuff is not, it doesn't seem like it's compatible with that, and you have to figure out a way to update it. So I don't know. It's kind of irritating, I guess is the word for it, because you have so many things that you're trying to do and you don't have that much time, and trying to copy stuff around and move it around and make it work and merge it together and not blow up the stuff you had before. It just makes it really challenging. Like with this thing I was doing earlier, I'll get the animation stuff figured out, but now I'm going to have to go back through and do all the sound file stuff that I had done. I had sounds for the bridges. I had sounds for the signs, picking up the coins, and it doesn't sound like a lot, But every one of those things you have to go in and add some type of a handler for it and then assign a file to it, and it just gets a little, I don't know, a little messy, I think. I wish there was a way to update the engine without destroying all your work, But let's say dismiss. And let's see what we get here. So if you haven't seen this before, maybe you have. If I hit play on here, what you get is you get this character, and he can go through and he's going to attack or kill these guys. And there's a timer on there. Every time you kill these guys, you get more souls, and it builds your time up. Alright. And I can go get new potions. And get some of this health potion. And you're collecting these things called souls. You'll see them here. There's 3 souls, 4 souls. So there's wave 1 complete. Well, I thought, man, this would be pretty cool. What's this? Access none. Trying to pre-property character blueprint. I don't even know what that's saying. Graph inventory node. Play another start time for game maps. Action RPG. I don't know. Not that big of a deal. So I thought, okay, well, this is pretty cool. So I went to Polygon Dungeons, and Polygon Dungeons has this demonstration map that I was showing you earlier. And so, yeah, this thing looks pretty cool. So in here, I got this beautiful dungeon. Nothing to put in it yet. So what I had done, I think I was in this room right here. It's like the default courtyard. And you can see here, these are NPC spawn boxes. Right? And I had... Let's see if it plays from here. Yeah. So see this? Now I'm in my Synty Studios Polygon Dungeon. And I'm playing... I'm still compiling shaders, so it's moving a little slow. Let's give it a second here. If there's 119 come up, it'll go pretty fast. There we go. So I'm probably going to die soon. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. As anticipated. But you can see in here, I mean, this thing looks pretty good, right? And if you just use the Synty character as your main dude, which I feel like I did, one of my other versions. Okay, so he doesn't have any other weapons. But anyway, this is your action RPG game, and I feel like it would look pretty nice with this if you were able to get it all to work the way you wanted it to. I would just swap out the character. And the way I wanted to do this game, if you watch my other video on this, my game was going to be based more on like an RPG hack and slash style thing, but the reason it was called Northammer is because it was going to be about a forge that was used to make this weapon called the Northammer, which was basically like an epic weapon, and you had to go and reassemble the pieces for the forge. Where's the UI from? This overlay here is, if you go back to your Unreal Engine, let's go back to, well, we can get it from here. go to learning and support. Or is it under there? Let's go back to here. If you go back here, under learn, and you go down here to learn, you're going to get Action RPG. And if you open this up, you can go down and say create project, or you can download it or whatever and then create a project from it. And that's going to give you the entire package exactly the way that I was just playing it. It's got a timer in it that runs down. You have to kill so many characters, and as you kill them, you get souls. And this thing's basically set up so that it goes through 5 waves of the game. Okay, but inside of there, oops, sorry. Inside of here, all I did is I brought over my polygon dungeon from Synty, and I went to their demonstration map, and in their demonstration map I plunked down a player start, which you'll find here. And you can see how I did this in my Northammer RPG video, except I was just using a different dungeon. Because as I was saying, any project or asset or tutorial or anything like that that you get from Unreal Engine, as long as you use those things in the Unreal Engine itself, any game that you make or anything like that, you're allowed to use those assets for that. That's what they give them to you for. Their whole business model basically is that hopefully you make a big game and it becomes successful and people buy it and they make revenue off of it, because you have to pay them a percentage after you get over a certain amount of sales. So any of these things you can deconstruct them and use them in your own tools. Same thing with the any of the other assets that you buy basically. But in here, see, I took the player start from, let me go back here. So if you go to maps and you go to the Action RPG main, or I'm sorry, this Action RPG map, okay? The way that I did it, and this was, again, I was very new at all this, so I was just trying to feel my way around. I went and I grabbed this player start, and I took that player start, and I just literally said copy. So I went to edit, copy. I opened up my map on the Polygon Dungeon side in the demonstration mode. I went to a spot where I wanted to have that player start, and I said paste. And then I went back over to this other map for the Action RPG map, and I went in here and I found my spawns, my NPC spawn boxes, and I literally grabbed these, right click, copied them, edit copy, went over and pasted them in, and then from there I just went into my Polygon Dungeon map, and I just pulled it up in demonstration mode, and I played it from here. So if you start it inside of this map, it's going to take you to the player start that it finds within that map, and then it's going to fire the rest of the game. And you can see here, I just have these NPC spawn boxes located in this area. Now the way that the game's set up, if you look at the blueprints, let's see, I think in the blueprint for the game, is it in here? Yeah, one of these tells you level loading logic. There's something, where's it at? BP. It might be actually under level blueprint. Nah. I don't know, I'll find it. Let's see. Actually, it's probably under one of these. Progression, no. Where are we at? Blueprints. I feel like it's got to be one of these. Let's see. There's one of them that actually tells you how these things work. So let's say we can go to edit NPC spawn box. There's an event graph. Nothing on there. There's logic in here somewhere that tells you all about the counter. I thought it was in the game instance, but maybe it's in here. Restart level. Enemy manager. Start enemy spawn. It might be this. Yeah, here you go. Waves manager. So it starts the enemy spawn and starts a wave by calling this thing down here. And then it basically goes through and it looks for spawn boxes and spawns out whatever the character is in the spawn box. And then once you destroy that wave of enemies, it goes and gets the next group from the spawn box. So in here in the game blueprints, you can say what the characters are. I think that's what this progression thing is. Waves progression. It tells you there's 5 waves in here. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. And so like in this wave, you have a spawn group. And in here, you're going to have an NPC Goblin level 1. And you're going to have 2 NPC Goblin level 1. And you're going to have 2 more of those. So in spawn wave number 1, basically you're going to have one spawn box will kick out 1 guy, another spawn box will kick out 2 guys, the third spawn box will kick out 2 more guys. When you kill these 5 guys, it'll say wave complete, and they'll go into wave 2. Wave 2 is going to go and get these guys. All right, so it just increases the level of the goblin, throws in a couple of harder characters and a couple more spawns until you get all the way out to the end here, where you're basically fighting all these guys. And I think there's a boss in here somewhere I don't see listed though. Should be a I don't know what the goblin level 3 is, but that's basically how this thing works. It runs through and reads through these waves. So what I was looking to do was to basically go through in the one that I was playing with Northammer RPG, is I was going to leverage all this stuff and just shut off the timer where it says you have to kill so many creatures within a certain amount of time. But if you get this, I'm going to show you another thing real quick too while you're playing this thing. If you hit the tab key actually takes you into an inventory where you can buy additional weapons if you have the souls that are required for those weapons. And you get souls from playing through levels and killing creatures and stuff. And you can do the same thing with skills. So you can get all these different types of things. Well, in here, you could change this yourself, but they have this thing in here where you can go and increase the number of souls you have. So you can buy additional weapons. And like, so I'll get the Knight Sword. And I'll go in here and I'll get the whatever. They're all different. I'll get the Molten Axe or whatever. And then on the skill side, I need more souls, so I'll just go buy some more souls. On the skill side, I'll get like a meteor shower, and I'll get the what is that? Those are potions, so we'll just buy whatever. I must not have enough souls. 1,200 souls needed. All right. But they put this in here so that you can play test this out and figure out how this whole game works. So I'll get those, and I think I said I can get 12 of them. Good enough. And then when I hit tab, now if you roll your mouse wheel, you can change your weapon. And this thing does a lot more damage, see? And I've also picked up additional skills. Alright, so I killed the first 5 creatures, and now my wave's complete. And now I got a level 2 guy that I gotta fight. My mouse was clicking outside of the box. And I can call in a meteor shower. So it's got a lot of neat stuff. Got a lot of neat stuff right out of the box. So, like I said, it's for me, it's a matter, hopefully, of just grabbing these things and then sticking them into a different environment. But I kind of felt like if I had a dungeon architect, let's say I played that game and I said, okay, you defeat 5 levels here. When those 5 levels are over, you're going to teleport to another area and face a different level of creature. And you just literally played through spawn camps, wave after wave after wave. That was the general idea of what I was trying to set up with this. But then I got into some other stuff and, started playing around with these platformers and everything else because this thing is just huge to run through. And the one thing that's pretty cool about Synty is they just do a lot of um, they do a lot of stuff in their demo scenes that kind of gives you ideas of what you could do to turn these into some pretty epic games. I mean, it's almost like when you get it, it almost feels like it's already a game. But I don't know. I just wanted to use all these assets together in some way, shape, or form. And I was originally, with this one, I was planning on doing some stuff where you would merge over Vikings and pirates and dungeons. And even though they're all from different time periods, I think people could rationalize that you might have knights in a dungeon that ended up getting encountered by pirates and stuff like that. But there's different eras of those types of things. But of course, sailing out to an enemy island or something like that, and then finding a dungeon on it or looking for lost treasures, you know, all those things could happen pretty easily with these types of assets. But I don't know. Again, like I said, I have too many ideas and not enough time, and I kept experimenting, playing with all these different things. But what I really want to do now, is I want to get that platformer game to the point of where I can just crank out some levels for it and make that whole thing work. And if you look at actually, you know what? I could just show you here. If you go to my YouTube and you go to my channel in there, I have a video. This is the one I was telling you in here for Northammer RPG. I think this one tells you getting started. And so this is the one where I'm talking about Dungeon Architect. And with that Dungeon Architect, you literally just plunk down. You can see I'm using the action RPG. Yeah, exactly. I think Knights and Pirates would be a pretty interesting thing. Now, what you'd have to be careful with is Knights have never seen black powder, theoretically. But pirates use, blunderbusses and stuff like that. So you might have to cross over a little bit, or maybe play an era where gunpowder just quite hasn't been developed yet, but you still have pirates. I don't know. But I'm like 48 years old, and when I was growing up in the 70s, we played Dungeons and Dragons with pen and paper and stuff like that. So I always defer back to those older games where you've got like a lot of dungeon crawlers and hack and slash and stuff like that. Those were some of the best games to me. And also, I grew up on Legend of Zelda, so it was one of the first games I ever played and beat, and played all the way through both times. So I always kind of think like, man, wouldn't it be cool if you could build a 3D version of something like Zelda, but better than what it was back in the day. I think most of these games are built that way. Yeah, there's all levels of, like, it's got a quest to it, or it's got a little mission here and there that you got to go and save somebody or return some artifact. But you should check this video out, because this Northammer ARPG thing talks a lot about how you're pulling in the dungeon architect and the prefabricator and using that to build these levels, which you basically I'll show you in here somewhere. You just drop down a thing and hit spawn, and it builds it for you. Yeah, like here's the building the navigational mesh. Pretty cool. And the only reason I have that nav mesh in there is because the enemy AI, which is in these little green boxes on here, they need to be able to understand where they can and can't walk throughout the map level. That's how you get those things to actually move around. When you copy this action RPG over and you start playing around with the idea of moving this in here, just make sure that one of the things you put in is, if you search this here, there is a nav mesh bounds volume that I have that's over this whole dungeon area to let those guys know where they can and can't walk. And you find that by going over here into search classes and you just type in nav and you get a nav mesh bounds volume and drag it out and size it to your area, because that's how the all the NPCs and enemy AI and stuff, they need that to move around. So I want to say that I had at one point. I wonder if I had a. Let's go to our mesh characters. See this guy here, that ABP player. So this was one of the Polygon Dungeon guys. And I feel like if you went to Blueprints and went to the BP player character and you go to the mesh viewport, I think that I actually had used one of those guys. What was his name? Let's see. Yeah, it's this guy right here. SPG ABP player. Is that in there? I don't remember. Game weapons. So there's all the different blades. But here's my Polygon Dungeon characters. So I think I had a skeletal knight. I think I had a skeleton knight. And he should have that SPG ABP player. And let's see what that does. Yeah, there he is. Let's gotta make this a little bit bigger first. Yeah, but he can't swing his weapon. But he's in there. He just doesn't have all the animation blueprints mapped over yet. I started playing around with this idea of putting that character in there too. No, you're not derailing my stream. I really didn't even think anybody would log in and watch any of this, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm glad somebody even bounced in. And if you learned anything at all, or if I've answered any question for you at all, it made it well worth it. And I'll put this up until it gets about 50 thumbs down, and then I'll delete it or something maybe. But no, I'll probably leave it up just for the fun of it. But like I said, over the next couple days, maybe I'll do a few more of these, try and get around and play around with some different things. I know that for me, when I was first starting out, I couldn't get enough of somebody in Unreal Engine pulling up Synty assets and going through different game types and modes and how to map this to that, and hopefully even just something as simple as seeing me copy and paste stuff from a animation blueprint over to another one and getting that to semi work. You know, maybe that gives you some help if you're just getting started. I'm not much further along, but you know, I play around with a lot of these different little things in here and just try and get them to do different stuff. So we'll get it all to work, you know. And if you have specific questions or something that I can help you with, or things that you're curious about or whatever, let me know, and maybe I can try and do a live stream on some of that, you know. But let's see. I'm going to kill this one, and we're going to go back into what I was saying earlier. I think that if we did a thing here for PDK1 with that dungeon in it, the way that MSOD has built his platformer development kit, you really only need like a couple of things to make that whole thing work. And I want to show you what I think, or what I was getting at with this dungeon, is that I literally, again, this VR thing pops up. I'll show you how to shut that off here in about 2 seconds. So if you go in here, let's pop this back up here, and if you go into settings, plugins, and you search for VR, that might be under, oh wait a minute, I have to go to, I don't want just installed, I want everything. Build in VR. Just uncheck Oculus, and that'll keep that thing from firing back up every time you load it in there. One time you start an Oculus project and it's in there for life. Okay, if you find a good way to prevent Mixamo animations from squashing the shoulders of the polygon characters. You mean the way that the shoulders are rounded over? Because I feel like if that's what you're talking about, I think that would be neat. Because I hate the way that the shoulders look on the characters for those. What I think you could do though is I really feel like you could take your skeleton, your polygon Synty skeleton, load that up to Mixamo. And I did a video on this also. You take the polygon Synty skeleton, load it up to Mixamo, find your animations for it, bring it back into your project, and then I think all we have to do is create an animation blueprint. Create an animation blueprint that has the right mapping on there. So I probably will do that if that's what you're interested in. I'll try and do that as like tomorrow's live stream session. What I was going to say in here though, let's go to these maps. So here's our dungeon, and right here, I know this is going to be weird, but right here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put like a hole. So if you go into the platformer kit and you look under the interactable, I want to say meshes maybe? No, blueprints. Where's it at? Let's search all the blueprints. We'll do start. So see the BP level start hole? If you just drag this out, lift it up and hit the end key, it drops it down to the thing. Alright, so if I play from here, my character is going to be in this map. Just that quick. And there's an arrow on here that tells you where you're going to end up on the thing. So you go over here, there's a rotation. Just grab this and spin it around and hit save and play again. And there's my rabbit inside of the level here. So I don't know how cool it would be to get, you know, a dungeon like this where you go through and just literally like platformer style collecting hearts and stuff, and you know, maybe or coins or whatever, and then someplace in here maybe you have to go and collect an object like we did with that crystal to break out the other thing. But you can see also that just by putting that hole in there, he's already got all the other stuff baked in. Now I don't have a way to die. See that I'm going to fall indefinitely. So if I go back up to, where's my start level there? The other thing you want to do is you want to put in something called a death plane. So here's your BP death plane. And what you do is you zoom out. And you got to put death plane. Actually, let's go this way. You got to put a death plane like underneath of the level, where if you fall down into wherever that death plane is, it's going to kill you. Alright, so you can take this and drag it out into the level, and then you can adjust with the up and down tool here. You can adjust where it's at. So I can't tell because it's so friggin' big. I can't tell where it all lives. So maybe I gotta go out this way. There you go, so I can see that now. Looks like it's about right there. And you can size it. Make this like 10. That's a lot bigger than it needs to be. Maybe 5. No, let's do 2. There you go. 2 by 2 is probably enough. Actually, do 2 on there. 2 by 2 by 2. Okay, and then slide this forward. Save it, play it, and let's see. Now I should have a way to die. I feel like I want to tilt this camera down just a little bit also. But then there's a side of me that says that maybe his rationale was that by not being able to see exactly where you're going until you're right up on top of something, it might make it a little bit more difficult too. And he jumps way too high and for too long. I can fix that. Make it a little bit better. Okay. Still way down too far, but you see I finally hit the death plane. And boom, I'm dead, and I respawn back to the beginning of my level. So then the other thing is he's got if you go in here to the thing, you go and you look for the hole again, and you just do a finish hole, which I'll drag right here. Over here, when you do your next level, all you do is you give it the name of the map. So if I said go back to his maps, and in his map folder, just go map starting level, and you know you could do another whatever it is, but I'll just do just to take us back here. Map starting level, map starting level. Let's do map starting level, which will take us back to level 1. I don't know if that's case sensitive or not, but let's fix it. And go to play. So I could go out there and die, or I could go here, and he's going to jump in. Congrats, you've won. I got to fix my climb in animation. It should only do one. My dive in. It's on a loop, obviously. And then this should take me to back to map number 1. So we can see there I've got a full progression all the way around there. Nice. Alright, so this has some potential. Now the other thing I did with this, the other thing that I bought, not only do I have all these Synty Studio assets to go in here, and I have both of his development kits, but I also have in my marketplace tools, if you look at my library and type in Plat, I also bought Platformer Starter Pack and Platformer Starter Pack 2 from, yeah, the most difficult level ever. You get out of the hole and jump in the other hole. So this is another platformer. Now this one doesn't have any of the UI or any of the gameplay elements in it, but it does have some pretty cool features. So again, between kit 1 and 2 and these 2 platformer packs, and then the third one he's getting ready to put out now, I feel like I got plenty of stuff to design with. Excuse me. I'm going to go back to his channel here on YouTube. I don't know why I'm punching it that way. MSOD Brushbeard and his newest Kit 3. So I'm looking forward to making all this stuff work. I think it'll be pretty cool. I would buy his Kit 3 just for his water stuff. Right? Being able to have the breath icon on there and being able to dive, you could use that without this platform rabbit game. That would just be a nice thing to have for any of the other levels. So I'm very interested in seeing that come together, because I want to get... I have all those pirate ships, excuse me, for the pirate game. You know, and the problem with them is they have water in them, but the water's not turned on, it doesn't work right or whatever. But again, these would be pretty cool levels. You could swim, underneath of a thing or whatever and come up on the other side of a tunnel and boom, be in a, pirate area. And your rabbit could go and, take over ships and get coins off the ships and all that kind of stuff, and different puzzles and traps and tricks. One of the things so I don't know. I don't want to say that this is definitely water that comes with the pack, but he's showing it, so I'm assuming it's in there. My guess is it's an effect that's being put on to make it seem like you're swimming or something. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but it does have swimming in there, and he's got snorkel, and you can breathe underwater and all that stuff. And so, well, not breathe underwater, but I don't know what the snorkel does for you. It probably makes it so you can see better. But yeah, this by itself, just getting the water. Yeah, everything you see in here, from what I understand, is going to be in pack number 3. So if you go and read this, let's see. Yeah, he's coming soon. Okay, so see, he put a note in here too. If you bought one of my previous releases, you can easily merge this to the other 2. I probably should have read that before giving him a 7 reply question or whatever. But yeah, everything he shows you in these packs is available when you buy them for that $30-some. So like I said, for just buying the functionality of the swimming, of the fact that you got a collection mechanism for coins, it's got the climbing, the double jump, the hidden asset reveal with the lantern, the bridges, all these things. You would easily spend hundreds of dollars buying all this type of stuff, in my experience anyway, from other asset stores. And this game looks so good out of the box as a development kit that if you just spent your time building levels and released these, I really think people would gravitate towards them pretty quick. because there really aren't any great platformers out anymore. I think Lucky's Tale or whatever was the best platformer that's been put out in the last several years. But these games remind me of those old school games that just had great gameplay to them, because you have a mission, like you got to find the coins, find your way out of the thing or whatever. So they got that kind of dungeon crawl feel to them, where you can make a lot of gameplay with definitive endings to the missions. You know, levels, levels and platformers, I think, are coming back or should come back. So yeah, he put this up March the 17th, and today's the 21st. I'm guessing this will show up on the store in the next couple of days. I mean, what I usually do is I go to the Unreal Engine Marketplace. I go into Marketplace and I literally just go in here and I type in platformer or platform development kit. And I go and find let's see if I can find more platformer dev. So yeah, here's his channel. So what I've done in the past, I'll literally just shortcut this and just open it up every couple of days until I find out that it's on there. One of my complaints about the Unreal Engine Asset Store is I wish they made it easier to get in touch with a developer, and I wish that they made it that you could watch something. Like, in other words, if I wanted to subscribe to his channel or his store, I should be able to see every time he publishes something new to his store, an update, a new asset pack, whatever. I should be able to follow this, in other words, and get a notification when it comes on. I don't know if they're thinking about that kind of stuff, but I know as a person who's looking to buy assets, um, it would be really helpful for me, because there's a lot of stuff that I want, like, Dungeon Architect. If you wanted to buy Dungeon Architect and it goes on sale again, you'd want to know about that. But you literally have to just keep checking and checking and checking to see if it ever does. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I've been on here for a while, and we've covered a lot of different stuff. But what I'll do, maybe tomorrow night, I'll try and get on later in the night. I don't know, around 8 or 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock. And I'll try and go through some Synty asset retargeting and stuff like that. And we'll try and get one of the Synty characters up to the marketplace and pull it down, and see if we can get the shoulders fixed and all that stuff. But that's what I did last time. And I don't know if you ever see in some of my videos, if you go to the description section, if you go to my Google Drive, under my Google Drive, I have a folder called Unreal Training Downloads, and I provide a link to this. And under the animation thing, I have a Mixamo bone mapping UE asset, and I have a mannequin with the FBX in it. Oh, yeah, sorry, good point, time zone. I'm thinking I'm probably going to be on at like 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So right now in America, where I'm at, it is 10:40 p.m. It's 10:40 p.m. on 3/21. So I feel like tomorrow night I'll probably get on around 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So about 2 hours earlier than what we got right now. And what we can do is we'll go through here, because I actually have, see that Synty Studios Mixamo models? I have a couple of Mixamo Polygon guys here that I think I put in there for doing this exact thing. And if you have this link, which you can get from, let's go back here real quick. If you go to my channel and you go to my videos, I feel like any one of my videos that says something about Synty in it, Well, except for this one because that's live now. If you go in here for, where's it at? Synty. Synty polygon with Mixamo animations. I feel like in here, if you go to the show more, nah, it's not in there. Hold on. I think it's this one here, Mixamo animations, bone mapped skeleton. Yeah. So this has my Google Drive link in there. So if you go into my channel and get my Unreal Engine using Mixamo animations, bone map skeleton, that can get you in there and you'll get all those files. But that's what we'll play around with tomorrow night, is going and uploading one of those to Synty. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad you found some use for that. Like I said, I think the only thing that's missing in my bone map skeleton is I didn't put something in there for the hands. And I really feel like if you look at the Synty characters' hands, I think you'll see that they have. I feel like they have an issue with their fingers. So where are we at? Polygon Dungeon characters. And let's go to. Is there like a soldier or something there? Goblin War Chief. Yeah, I agree with you. The way my mind works is if I go through doing something one time that I know I'm going to have to do multiple iterations of that same thing, I'm basically looking to come up with an automation for that, or some type of a script or a routine or something to make it easier. Because that's just brutal the way that thing is. Yeah, see, if you look at these hands, see what I was saying earlier, I think is true. I think you have an index finger. Why did I not want to pick an index finger? So there's finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4. But I don't feel like that's real. I feel like finger 3. Nah. See, those are just the curves. Right. Index finger, finger, and thumb. That's really all you have there, because if I were to go into here and start playing around with rotation, so there's your thumb, right? There's your index finger, is just that one finger, and then finger 0, 1 is that whole block of fingers, right? So I feel like if you bring your animations in and that bone mapping for the skeleton has to say that finger 0, 1 is also mapped to the other character, what we would call our middle finger, our ring finger, and our pinky finger are all the same as finger 0, 1. Right? And then the same thing with the knuckles for those. So finger, what they're calling finger 02 left, is really the joint. It's the joint section of the fingers. You see how that is? It's just to open and close them. It's almost like if you've ever been on an Oculus Quest or an Oculus Rift. It's the same way. You got a thumb, a finger, and then all the rest of your fingers. You got a thumb, an index finger, and 3 fingers as one, like how you close your hand. So that's what I think's going on there. I think that if I would have realized this earlier, I think it would have saved some issues with the way that the retargeting went. So maybe we'll work through that tomorrow night and see if we can get a better video out of there. So what we'll do is we'll live stream it and we'll play around with it, and if it works well, then I'll reshoot a tutorial that is more straight to the point. So with that being said, if there's anything that came across in this video that you saw that you think, this would make a good tutorial, which God knows what it would be because there's a lot of stuff I went through in there, But if you saw something that you wanted to have more clarification on or whatever, just leave me some comments in this video, and I'll go back through and I'll create a tutorial that's geared around that exact thing, you know, and we'll just try and get through it. What I'm really interested in is getting down the road here with these and actually putting in some other assets and other functionality and things like that. Starting to add in some effects and, you know, sounds and stuff. And I really want to do a soup to nuts video of. That's why I want to work that asset pack for MSOT, because it's so close to being done. If I could do a video, that says here's how you put your own character in there, add a couple things to it, change it to make it your own, and then compile it and get it ready for marketplace, I think that would be a good, helpful tutorial. But anyway, like I said, I think I'm going to call it a night. And appreciate you hanging out and going along for the ride here, even though I was all over the place. Hopefully it was at least entertaining, killed some time for you. Maybe you picked up a trick or two here and there. But maybe I'll see you again tomorrow night around 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll try and get on the next couple of days while we're under the viral contagion lockdown over here in the United States. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off. Oh, have you tried out the advanced locomotion system? No, what's under that? Advanced locomotion system. Let's go look. I'm assuming you mean on the marketplace. Advanced locomotion system. Is this what we're talking about here? An advanced bipedal locomotion and layering system focused on high quality character animation, responsive movement, built to flexible, extendable, and to provide a solid starting point for new projects. Oh yeah, I'm more than happy to show all that stuff. Like I said, I'm just noodling around, and maybe we run across something that's useful. No real direction on these, but what I do like to do is if there's a piece that somebody would actually benefit from, I'd like to break that out and do a video on it that says, hey, this is an actual tutorial. This thing looks like a lot of blueprint work. My goodness. Ah, yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Curve-driven parameters. Wow. Well, I have not seen that before, but it says it's free. An advanced bipedal locomotion system. So you're saying that retargeting this locomotion system to Synty breaks this system? I'm going to go ahead and download it. Huh. Nice. Well, at least the guy says it right there. Not a plug-and-play system. See, what I really wanted to do with the, I always say that. I say what I really wanted to do, like it's been a lifelong dream or something. I guess it's just a buzzword. But one of the things that I liked in the Paragon series was the way that the characters leaned when they turned corners. And I wanted to fix that in. That's what it's really trying to do with the action role-playing game series. I wanted to put a Paragon character that had the leaning and everything in there, because the action role-playing game series has a WASD key movement, because it's basically built for I think it's excuse me. I think it's actually built for being usable on a handheld device like a phone or an iPad or whatever. So even being able to clean up the parts that work and use that as a base for something would be sick, though. The parts that work with the Synty meshes. Yeah, I'd have to see how this is wired up. Let's see. Let's go. Advanced locomotion system. Oh, wait. I'm going to do that. I already did that. Advanced Loxus. Let's see. Let's see here. Anim Man. Mannequin skeleton. That's okay. I'm not really all that tired. It seems like there's things in that those other two games or whatever that I want to go and break them apart and try and figure out a little bit more with them before I tie everything up, on screen. Yeah, so you could definitely. It says retarget to another skeleton. The animation blueprint. Yeah, it looks like a pretty in-depth system. I really like, probably one of the things that makes it look cool is that it's got these IK systems built into it, which are called, I think they're, IK stands for like inverse kinematics or something like that. But it's basically the thing that allows your feet to stand on, or your hands or whatever, to be on two different levels. So like, probably they demonstrated here. Like if this guy's half on and half off of a ramp, you can see it there. He's got his IK on. See, one foot's down, one foot's up, and that the thing automatically knows how it does that, and it does it basically with ray tracing. which ray tracing is like a laser beam type thing, you know, that shoots out from underneath the character to figure out if he's hitting or colliding with a solid object. Oh, what's this over here with the other characters? What do they do? Or is it just showing you more? Huh. Well, so let's see. Retargeting it to the UE4 mannequin works just about perfectly, but retargeting to the Synty ones, even after fixing the T-pose and stuff, breaks several animations, plus ragdoll, plus IK. So that probably can be fixed though by, what are we doing here? I was going to say that probably can be fixed by my guess is you must have created a third party. You must have created a third player level. And then this said create project, so this is its own independent project. But you probably created a third party thing and added that to this, or maybe you went the other way around. You could go here and say, you can go in here and say, where's it at? No. I thought there was a thing. Oh, here, add new feature or content pack, and you could go in here and say third person, right? Third person pack, add to project. I don't know if that's what you did or not. If I go in here to these maps and start that, then I just have my regular mannequin with my jump and all that. But at least now I would have the mannequin and his animations. So if I understand what you're saying, normally what I would do is I go to my mannequin, I would go to this UE4 mannequin skeleton, pull up the retargeting manager, and put a humanoid rig on here. And then I don't know what pose that other guy's in, so we'll figure that out. Then I would go to advanced locomotion, character assets, and I would go to his ALS mannequin skeleton. And he's already mapped root, pelvis, spine. He's already got a humanoid mapping, and he's in the same pose as the current mannequin is. So if I right click on this and say retarget to another skeleton, I should be able to go and retarget him onto here. Got the same base poses and everything. Alright, so that would mean that my mannequin character tells you. So this guy doesn't have any IK on him. But if I retargeted that character, yeah, I'd have to play around with it a little bit to figure out what's going on, because obviously the character from the advanced kit is already mapped in humanoid. But see, in the advanced side here, there should be some IK bones. See, these are already built. And then in the skeleton tree, you've got this IK hand gun. But I didn't see that in this character. Where's it at? Character. I don't know where the skeleton lives. Mannequin character mesh. Okay. So if I go in here, see, he doesn't have those same bones transported over or translated over. But what you should be able to do, though, is if this character here, he should have, it should be right in here under the animation blueprints or something. The real question would be, if you could get to this mannequin skeleton and say export this. No. Yeah, actually maybe the missing animation is just the IK system. Well, it's usually one of two things. Either when you retarget, the character's not pulling over all the animation frames or mapping to the bones because they don't exist. But in that IK system, kind of like what I did when I was looking for the thing to add the weapon for the platformer, what you do is you go and you create a socket that has the same name as the other socket that's listed. And that'll usually fix, the references to everything there. And then the system should pick up and work. But I'd have to understand a little bit more about how this gets ported over, because this animation blueprint should be what's driving everything. And this is saying some stuff is broken, probably from where I remapped that. So I'd probably have to look at a couple of default options for this. But what I was saying earlier, in some of these, if you find out where the character's at and you look at his mesh, you can right click on this and say export, and there's your FBX file. So that's under the mannequin that we brought in, the mannequin mesh for the third person game mode. There might be a character asset in here where you can right click this and say export and get that FBX file. Because if you take this FBX file, we'll call him ALS underscore mannequin and put him out on my desktop. I'm just going to leave these, I'll say reset to default. I'm just going to leave these on default. I feel like if you did that, so there's ALS mannequin FBX, you should be able to go to Mixamo. And say upload character from the desktop. Yeah. Yeah, so it's got him on there. And that means that you should be able to apply these animations. So if I say grab and download that, I don't need the skin. And we'll just download it. Let's save that to the desktop also. So, animation examples. And pull in Samba dancing. There's your thing. Import those. Could not find the bind pose. No geometry information, a mess. Well, download with skin. Okay, that's not a deal breaker though. But what's going on there, you can see, is a root bone issue. And that yeah, I'll have to take a look at it and see. I feel like I could maybe if you tomorrow explain a little bit about where you got to with it, and I'll see if if I can go through and try and get to where you got to. Maybe I can figure some things out. I did a lot of different animation playing around with different animation formats as I mentioned earlier, so it's a possibility that if I look at it or look at some examples, I might be able to come up with something real quick. Just because I've had so many issues, yeah, with other things. So, all right. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. If anybody else ends up watching this, sorry if I drug on some things and went off on tangents and stuff. Hopefully, you found something useful. If you see something that you'd like to be put into an overall video for a tutorial or for some more basic training type stuff, please let me know. Again, my name's TC Made with TC Gaming. Felix, have a good night. Good chatting with you, and I'll try and be back on again tomorrow night. Now, I'd appreciate that there's no pressure. I'm interested in the same type of stuff, so if there's a system that I feel like probably the same way you do, or maybe other people do, you go to the asset store, you buy an asset, you're like, man, this thing's going to be great. You download it, and you can't use it. It's broken. It takes you 3 days to figure out how to make it work with whatever you're already doing, or whatever. It's just a very frustrating and painful experience, and we're all trying to get to someplace where we don't have to spend our entire time trying to figure out how to develop game assets in order to be able to make games. And that's what Unreal Engine hopefully provides, is an environment where with a little bit of pulling together resources, you can make things work. So if there's any way that I can help, and I learn in the process, there might be something that I find in there that helps me as well. So I'm more than happy to take a look at it, and if we can figure something out, even better. I got all those Synty polygon assets, and they're looking for skeletons and animations just like just like everybody else's. So I appreciate you tipping me off to that, and I will try and play around with it a little bit before I get on tomorrow night, and maybe I'll have some stuff figured out by the time I do. You have a good night. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll try and catch you again tomorrow night. Thanks again for watching, and take care of yourself. I will catch you soon. Good night.